Hey guys, how you doing? It's Mike. I'm back just now to do my kind of like personal favourite game per system that I've owned, if that makes any sense. This is like kind of my version. I saw a video not too long ago of a guy doing what he thought was the top games per system, and I thought to myself, I'll do one for the systems that I have owned. And there's going to be obviously a lot of consoles here that are missing off the list, but that's because I've only prefer certain consoles over another. And again, most of this list will not really surprise a lot of people. I've actually went through the list a couple of times and I've noticed that I can't really decide between a game or a couple of games, so there are like a kind of top 2 or 3 for certain consoles. And again, as I was saying, this is my opinion, and again, this is just stuff that I have owned and games that I've played or I've kept. Obviously I do trade in a lot of stuff once I finish with it, but I've got I think it's like 9 consoles here or 10 consoles that I've owned over the past 20 years. So I will just kind of get right into it. I would say I'm not going to do it in order of the age of the console. I've just wrote them down on a wee bit of paper here. So the first one is the PlayStation 1, and it's no big surprise to learn that my favourite game on that system is Metal Gear Solid. I was going to put down Abe's Odyssey, but I think in overall terms of enjoyment, Metal Gear Solid does trump it. So again, Metal Gear Solid for me is definitely my most favourite game on that particular system. I suppose my kind of my other favourite game would be Abe's Odyssey, and then probably after that would be what can I think of here? Probably Spider-Man, the one that I done a walkthrough of not too long ago. So I would probably say top game is definitely Metal Gear Solid, second is Abe's Odyssey, and third is Spider-Man. So that basically clears up PS1. The next console is ironically the PS2, and again, no great surprise to learn that my favourite game in that system, probably my most favourite game overall ever, has been Metal Gear Solid 2. Now, the funny thing is, the Metal Gear Solid 2 was my very first Metal Gear Solid game I ever played. I did obviously own a PS1 when I was younger, but I never got around to buying the game because at that time, it didn't appeal to me. I was more of a kind of just a casual gamer. I liked a mixture of everything, and it wasn't until I was 11 or 12 years old when Metal Gear Solid 2 came out. I got a demo of the game in a magazine, and I fell in love with it from the start. So that basically kind of started me off on a Metal Gear Solid Metal Gear Solid saga, if you will. And I managed to borrow my uncle's copy of Metal Gear Solid 1 off of him, and that basically kind of kicked it off from there. So PS2 again is definitely Metal Gear Solid 2. I'd probably say that the second game I like on that one would be Spider-Man 2, the movie game. That's definitely the best Spider-Man game, or my personal opinion again, best Spider-Man game there's been ever. It was the first one to feature a full open area New York City, and it was ahead of its time. So if you want to do a third one, I'd probably say that the third best game, or my third favourite game on that system, would be probably FIFA 2006. That was the first FIFA that I had bought in 7 years, so I did really look forward to buying FIFA on when it came out in 2006 or 2005, I think it was. They're always a year ahead of themselves. But yeah, 7 years without FIFA, and I bought it, and again that got me back into playing football games. So that was Metal Gear Solid 2, Spider-Man 2, and FIFA 2006. Now, the PS3 is the one, or I think it's the only console, the only console I've got just now that I've got a top 3 games written down. Again, no big surprise to learn that my favourite one overall is definitely Metal Gear Solid 4. Again, purely for the fact that the story was awesome, and the online, again, is... Well, people who know me know I've had issues with MGO, but again, everyone has had issues with MGO, so... I definitely say again, this is the first console I had that featured a massive online environment for me to get into. So Metal Gear Solid was my number 1 game. I've got written down here as well Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare 2. Now the reason for those being there are Call of Duty 4 was my very first ever online first person shooter. and again that got me right into Call of Duty again, like most people. It was the first kind of game that like brought you into the series and got you hyped for playing online. So I do rate Call of Duty 4 as my favourite first person shooter of all time. I would probably say Modern Warfare 2 is my favourite of the Call of Duty series for the story. The story is really gripping and I really get in it. I think it's the first time I actually really got involved. You know, I sat down with the game, had the headset on and get right into the story, nothing else fazed me. So I was right into that. And again, online is good, but again, online compared to 4 isn't that great, but it had obviously gained a lot of, it had a lot of perks over Call of Duty 4, so that list for PS3 again is Metal Gear Solid 4, Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare 2. Keeping with the PlayStation series, we're on to the PSP now, and again, no great surprise, the fourth one of 4 is Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops. The reason for that is it's probably the only game I actually owned that wasn't a sport game in the PSP. Nothing else really kind of made me want to buy it, and Portable Ops was my very first online experience of Metal Gear Solid. I did not play MGO1, if you want to call it that, on subsistence. I had Snake Eater, but I didn't have the subsistence version, so I wasn't too really kind of phased with that because Portable Ops held me over, and that got me into the aspect of playing online with MGO. And then when MGS4 came out, onto MGO2. So I don't have a top 3 list for PSP, so I didn't really own that much. That was the only game I actually played, which sounds sad after obviously buying a console for that. At the end of the day, it was the only game that really made me stick with the console. Next up is the PS Vita. The reason for the Vita is, again, I bought it when it came out. Obviously, for those who've seen my video of my entertainment collection, I do have like 9 PS Vita games, but there's not a lot of differences between the Vita collection game and the PS3 version, because there is a lot of stuff that's just ported over to it. So I would say that, ironically, this one's not going to feature Metal Gear, even though I have the HD collection. This is going to feature Uncharted Golden Abyss. No, I'm not a big Uncharted fan, but this was the first game I bought for the Vita, and it's great. It does, you know, show the capability, of the console. So I do rate Uncharted Golden Abyss is my best Vita game so far. But we'll obviously get more games in the near future. We're going to hit onto Nintendo now, and I was going to put the separate Game Boys, but I think I've just put Game Boys down because my two top games for that, top 3 games, would be Tetris. Now I'm a massive Tetris fan. It's, again, the very first game I ever played in my life, and it's always had a special place for me, so I do love Tetris. Again, I would class that as an adult, a game that both obviously kids and adults can play. If you were to talk about a kids game, it would definitely be Pokemon Yellow. First Pokemon game I ever played when it kind of took the mainstream back in like the 90s. Everyone at school was playing it. You played the card game, you played the Game Boy game, anything you could get your hands on. And the third game would be Super Mario Land, which was again, brilliant game for it at its time. It came out the year I was born, so I couldn't get it until I was like 4 years old. So it was out for a long time, but I did love it, and I still love it to this day. Nintendo DS would need to be Mario Kart 6, or I suppose you could say Super Mario Brothers, but I love Mario Kart. It was, again, I used to play it on the older gen consoles, and I still play it, but I do find now that it's run its course. Ironic. But yeah, Mario Kart was definitely my most favourite DS game of all time. If you're talking about 3DS games now, again, those of you who have seen the video, I only have 3 games, so I'm just going to write those 3 games down. That is Street Fighter 4, Metal Gear Solid 3D, and Mario Bros 2, or Super Mario Bros 2. There's nothing really kind of extra to say, because again, I've only owned 3 games. The Wii, now, not a lot can be said about the Wii. I don't actually play it at all really much now. When I did play it, my favourite game for it was actually the Michael Jackson game, because it was actually the first time I felt the Wii had a use, which is really kind of weird, because there are a lot of good games for the Wii, but to me, the Michael Jackson game actually involved you getting, you know, right into the game. I do have a couple of videos of it on my channel, which got pretty popular, which I'm really surprised at. But it definitely, the Wii game would be Michael Jackson Experience. The last one on the list, again, this is stuff that I have owned Obviously, I was saying there's a lot of stuff that you may notice is missing. But the last game is, or sorry, the last console is the SNES, or the Super Nintendo, and that would have to be a choice between either Mario Kart 1, the very first Mario Kart that came out, or Super Mario World, or is it Land, or is it World? I don't know. It's the one with like Yoshi and all that in it. Again, love that console to death. I think I've still got it, but I can't bother looking through the loft for it. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much me, guys. That was my top, my top game per console that I've owned. I thank you for listening to the video. If you do like me to do more of these, I'm always open to it. There's really nothing that I don't want to do on the channel, but if you give me a suggestion, if you want to do like questions or something like that, I'll do questions. I've done 3 of these videos now, and I do get quite a lot of good reviews on them. So again, thanks for listening, and I hope to see you soon.